Dusk, Ultra Kill, Proteus, Dread Templar, Medieval. Do you know what all these games have in common? They were all considered my top favorite indie games of all time at a point, all slowly dethroned when I played the absolute hidden gem, The Last of the Waifus. Sleek, elegant, and dare I say wholesome, I never expected to play a game that would ever take my eyes from this absolute masterpiece that, undoubtedly, some lowly 7th grader made in his parents' basement, or a sexually frustrated 45-year-old man made at a Korean gaming cafe on his escape from the law. The physics, the art style, the tantalizing lack of a story allowing you to fill in the blanks with whatever scandalous thoughts your fantasies can cook up. I never thought I could be pulled away from it. That wasn't until I came across Severed Steel about an hour ago. With a storyline more confusing than any silent film from the 1940s, a high level of saturation that rivals any one of my videos, and a poster girl that is for sure the template for any anime's fans' wildest dreams, this game is the most fun I will have in any FPS for the rest of the year, and I do say that with utmost confidence since there's only 3 months left, and there's not much competition, so the devs pretty much have this one in the bag. But what is Severed Steel? Well, it's been getting a lot of wild comparisons that really isn't entirely wrong in any sense, but for my money, I simply describe it as a fast-paced stylistic arcade shooter with a big emphasis on replayability. With each level timing you, no two battles are the same, thanks to dynamic, unscripted, squad-based AI. I'll be honest, I read that last bit off the game's description because I thought it was a weird selling point. The AI isn't dumb, irritatingly predictable, or I guess broken to the point of it being immersion breaking or frustrating. It's not bad in any way. I mean, it's good, but it's not good to the point or unique enough to be pointing it out, in my personal opinion. I just found that a little odd, to say the least, and could be feeding to why a lot of people are comparing this game to Fear, along with the fact that this game does have bullet time. Maybe it is that good, but didn't catch my attention like that. But the game is really centered on some extremely fluid movement, giving you a slide, a dive, a wall run, a kick that, well, can also be used as an offensive action. It also is used to traverse the environment a little better. You can kick walls directly to reach higher levels without having to find any stairs. And then, of course, you're given bullet time to both dodge enemy bullets and line up those shots perfectly. The game, as of now, has 3 modes. You're probably going to be spending most of your time in the beginning on the campaign, which consists of 30 levels divided into 6 chapters, and it'll range anywhere from 2 to 6 hours to completely finish. The time really does depend on personal determination to beat your score and the difficulty you play on, and really how good you are at the game. Honestly, anything lower than Severed Steel is just not fulfilling enough. It's way too easy. It feels uninspired, and it is honestly kind of boring. The game gives you the ability to perform what are called tricks, which I already mentioned. You get a slide, dive, and a wall run. These are referred to as tricks, and they help you glide through the environment with absolute grace and beauty, getting creative with killing enemies as quickly and efficiently as possible. But while you're performing these, you're invulnerable. So in the lower difficulties, where you're giving less enemies that are less aggressive, less accurate, give you regenerating health and infinite bullet time, and of course generous amounts of ammunition, it feels dumb, feels uninspired, it's just not fun. However, crank that shit up to Severed or Molten Steel, movement proficiency becomes an absolute must. If you can't chain your movements properly, you're guaranteed to die. And I think that added pressure is a very strong foundation to the entire experience this game really has to offer. Because while the movement is really good, every environment is entirely destructible, and on top of that, the way these developers tackled the combat is very unique. Because you're playing as a one-handed protagonist, there's no such thing as reloading in this game. Every weapon you pick up, you have just that magazine to survive with. Whenever all the ammunition in your weapon is spent, you then throw your gun, and then depending on your movement, your accuracy, and whether if you're paying attention or not, you can just throw it completely out of the blue, miss everything, or you can hit an enemy, giving you an opportunity to slide up to them, pull a weapon out of their holster, even out of their hand, and continue your rampage. And of course that sounds cool on its own, but on the higher difficulties, every gun you get isn't always going to give you a full magazine, and every weapon is different. Some weapons are capable of one-shot kills like a Desert Eagle, sniper rifle, shotgun. Other guns like light machine guns, while they give you more ammunition, really require you to get those headshots. Those headshots not only make you much more ammo proficient and of course, get rid of threats, really lowering the chances of you dying, but upon every enemy death on the higher difficulties, regenerate your health and give you back bullet time. So it's this constant loop of added pressure of staying on the move, being as accurate as possible. You can go in and out of bullet time to dodge projectiles. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no such thing as a penalty in your movement or your momentum. So there's a lot of times where I'll burst through a door, shifting my momentum going completely left, activating bullet time, and then in the middle of the air, shifting my momentum the opposite direction. If you have a weapon that's strong enough, like a sniper rifle, you can completely penetrate the floor or the wall like I did here and kill an enemy. If you have weaker guns, you can actually poke holes in walls, giving you new lines of sight. So if you have a feeling like you're going to be entering a room that's filled with multiple enemies and it's essentially a choke point or a death trap and you're playing on molted steel, which only gives you 1 health point, then you can get creative. Shoot holes in the walls, take out a number of enemies, and then basically just slide back and forth doing slides, dives, wall runs, bullet time. The game is phenomenal when it comes to creativity and meshing the movement, the combat, and of course the destructible environments. There is a variety of enemies in this game, from, I guess you can call them just basic assault troopers or enemies that really aren't that hard to kill, and then you have enemies that are armored, you have enemies that have shields, you have enemies that are capable of flying. The shield ones, I think, are the coolest because they really don't slow you down. If you're accurate enough, you can shoot through their little eye holes, or you can slide up to them, kick the shield out of their hand, and then just, now they're like any other soldier, or you can jump over them or get around their shield by just sliding, wall running, diving around them, getting creative. I really like fighting them because, while they can be a pain in the ass, there's so many ways to get around them that you're not forced to deal with them in any particular way. Later on in the game, you get a grenade launcher, and you do face armored enemies that have flamethrowers that can kind of be a pain in the ass on the harder difficulties, but with the grenade launcher, you can just shoot the floor out underneath them or blast holes in the wall, giving you chances to isolate them, drop them to their death, fight anything and everything on your own terms. Every room is seemingly built all around the movement. Walls have vents underneath them. You can slide underneath tables. You can also slide into doors, making the doors fly off the hinges, and if enemies are on the other side of the door and they get hit by them, it'll kill them on impact. Honestly, with this game, what I could say is, if you're a fan of shooters that are all based around fast-paced movement, you like a challenge, a game that's really based around beating your own time, getting more and more creative with the kills, then I would say this is kind of a must play. I loved every single second playing this game. The only complaint that keeps popping up is that the campaign is incredibly short. Around 30 levels, divided into 6 chapters. You will be beating that in anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. 6 hours, I think, is generous. I personally beat it in 4. That was with me playing on the second hardest difficulty, which is severed steel. Actually, no, I don't pay attention. It was sharpened steel, not severed. It's severed, sharpened, molten. Pay attention, stupid. And I was replaying levels constantly. Some levels you'll beat in as quickly as 15 seconds. Other levels will run you about 2 minutes, and those are the long levels. The devs have come out and said that they're aware of these complaints, though they are planning on releasing more free content. What they announced as of now specifically was a new game plus, which, while sounds good, I'm hoping isn't redundant or doesn't cannibalize the other game mode, which is called Firefight. In Firefight, it's basically more of severed steel, more focused on the killing though. In the campaign, you'll get a bunch of different objectives like destroying control panels or generators and then having to get to an escape. There's also ones where you have to kill all the enemies or certain targets and then try to escape as quickly as possible. In Firefight, it's all about killing. It's got a ranking system, and you're also put in the same levels as the campaign. What makes this different is, again, the focus is all about killing, but you're also given some modifiers that range drastically from giving enemies a big head, giving everyone low gravity, a super slide. My 2 favorite ones is scary lighting, which is what you're seeing right here. Basically makes the game a little darker, but also paintball. Paintball gives the game an awesome presentation. Every explosion, every bullet that lands near you goes off with this colorful splatter, and going from full speed to slow motion back to full speed with all the shit going off around you is a trip, especially if you're on acid. But the reason why I was hoping that New Game Plus doesn't cannibalize Firefight is the devs have announced that with New Game Plus, you're basically going to be allowed to take the modifiers from Firefight over into the campaign. So what I'm hoping is they're basically just not going to be the same thing. Hopefully they switch up the campaign a little bit, introduce some more enemies in New Game Plus. The later half of the campaign, they get really creative with introducing platforming and how you have to utilize tricks to stay alive and take care of all the enemies that are thrown at you. Like, for instance, a really cool level is when you spawn in, there's a maze in front of you, and if you're a little slow like I am, you're probably gonna instinctually try to run through the maze and find the center naturally. And if you do that, there's enemies placed in very specific ways that if you don't know how to utilize the movement in these tight spaces, you're probably gonna die. Or you can make a break brain move, run straight to the hedge, kick it, throw yourself on the very top, and then basically just jump and slide over into the center. Once you get to the center, it turns all the lights on. From there, you gotta get to the very back, utilize your kick to get to the top of these giant pillars, and then you just have to get to escape. You can basically beat this whole mission without killing anyone. And then there's other levels where you're just thrown a ridiculous amount of enemies, and their bullets are capable of completely disintegrating the environment as as well. And there's areas where if you fall, you're basically screwing yourself over or even dying. And so you have these moments where you can't wall run, or you can't slide, or you can't dive, because there's no floor anymore, there's no wall anymore, because there were so many bullets and explosions going on there that there's nothing. You just gotta find an alternative route, or you gotta find a way to get across a giant gap somehow, some way. And it's moments like that that, again, that provided pressure really makes this game shine. And it'd be neat to see moments like that thrown into the earlier stages of New Game Plus. But that's the only real complaint. The campaign is a little short. You do have Firefight, and then you do have a level editor, which is currently only available on Steam. I don't know if it's going to make its way over to consoles. Eventually, Severed Steel is going to be launched on all consoles, including the Nintendo Switch, and I think current and next-gen PlayStations and Xboxes. If the level editor doesn't make it to those builds, it would be nice to see the most rated, or the most played, or the most elaborate fan-made levels make it into those builds via an update, or maybe tacked on as extra or epilogue content. You know, it was extra replayability, extra love to the entire community that this game seems to really have, that is strong. It's only been out for a couple weeks now, and I highly recommend it. Beyond the campaign being short, nitpicking a little bit, the music, in my opinion, sucks ass. I do not like it. The best way I can describe it, I think it's techno. It's probably not, but just imagine the type of music two robots aggressively fucking to. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't like it. Some people love it. I'm not knocking anyone for it. It's just not my taste. And it's kind of funny, I stopped on the level that really does exemplify that image. And that's essentially Severed Steel. I'm gonna end this video off playing a couple clips, so that way you get an idea of what the weapon sounds are like and all the audio cues that the game gives you, because I think the sound in this game, besides the shitty music, is really good. All the guns sound great, enemies talk shit. There's a lot of different settings you can mess with. This game is really tailored towards speedrunners, so you have a speedrunner HUD you can activate. You can also completely bypass all the game's weird cutscenes, because the story is very much a mess. I made a joke about it, but I have no idea what's going on. Every cutscene is portrayed in this type of comic book art style. There's no narration. It's just odd. But anyways, that is going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you guys think about this game. If you heard anything about it, if you played it, what are your thoughts? Let's talk down below. And like always, if you guys haven't joined the Discord yet, links are always down below. That and Twitter are the best ways to yell at me directly. A lot of people seem to be doing that lately. That's not like none of it's undeserved.